welcome everyone to the Private Banking Wealth Management Hotseat. With me today we have Thomas Schaffner, the Global Head of Banking at Synpulse. Thomas, great to have you on board. And this is our first episode of the video series that we intend to create. And the intention is to actually dive a bit deeper into topics in private banking wealth management through multiple follow-up videos that we're going to start initiating. And since this is the first episode, the intention also is to cover wider banking topics that are impacting our industry. And that's also the reason why we have Thomas here, and potentially to also hear his thoughts on how he sees the industry evolve. Thomas, again, thanks for making time. And to just get things started, maybe if you could share a bit more about your journey and Synpulse's journey on banking, and also what lies ahead in the future.
Thank you very much, Prasanna, first of all, for having me here on this hot seat and to kick off this exciting series. So to start off with, right, Synpulse has been on almost like a 30 years journey delivering value to our clients on the banking in the banking space for banks, but also for insurance companies. It all started off in 1996 by a small group of very smart and driven people in Switzerland. And for the first couple of years, we have delivered values in Switzerland, even in the German part of Switzerland, to many banks already back in the day. And then it was around the mid-2000s when our internationalization journey started. And we have done that following our clients. And it was mainly a private bank out of Liechtenstein, which asked us to come and help them in Singapore, which, as far as I know, is your home base as well, Prasanna. So this is when the internationalization journey started. And from there on, we were on an extremely exciting growth journey where we have partnered up with major global banks, with major software partners all around the world. And I'm actually very proud and very excited to see now a team of, again, very motivated and intelligent people out of roughly 20 offices all around the globe, having a strength of roughly 750 symposiums that are delivering the values for our clients. For me personally, I've been on that journey for roughly 20 years now. It's been a long time. Started as a consulting, doing core banking transformation programs, and now since the beginning of this year, leading this practice in my global head of banking role. So second part of your question, where is this heading, right? I would say I'm extremely proud that over the last 30 years, we have been able to build up, I would say, a very broad domain knowledge, and especially on the private banking wealth management side. So what is the focus now is leveraging this business domain knowledge, combining that with the technology angle, and help our clients to produce, again, sustainable value for them. And when we talk about a vision that I have, right, is always that something that I get asked as well, right? What is the vision of this practice? I want to become a globally recognized management and technology consulting company that is serving the major banks all around the globe, right? Standing for delivery excellence. That is still one of the key USPs that we have a consultancy, and do this in this ever-changing and ever-evolving banking environment.
Excellent. So to me, the part that I enjoy is the energy and the passion. That's what has also kept me going for, last 13 years, I suppose, starting in Singapore. And to me now, getting into a bit of, because I know you use this word called as core beliefs. Mm-hmm. Core beliefs that you believe in that is going to transform the future of the banking industry. Yeah. Maybe could you shed some light into what those core beliefs are? And how do you expect it to shape the industry in the future?
Very good. And to be very honest, a very broad question. So to start off with, I would potentially start with a conviction, right? And you can go all the way back to Greek philosophers or like 300 years back to someone called Benjamin Franklin, a big innovator and politician. And there was one statement they both made, in a sense, was that there is one constant in life, and that is change. Or Benjamin Franklin put it in a way to say, like, if you are finishing to further develop, you're finished. And I see that as kind of the baseline also throughout my whole career, what has always been the driving force behind the industry. Now you ask about core beliefs, and let me pick three in a good consulting manner, right? So I would start with the client first. What I see on a global scale in the industry is the massively altering client expectation and client needs, right? So take the typical financial services client, take you and me, right? What is happening with our needs, right? We are so digitally savvy, right? Digital is all around. We have all the tools at hand to be able to compare products, to compare specifications, to compare the rates, and we want to have the right product for us. And we have now all the means at hand to actually be able to choose. So what does that mean for a bank today? They need to adapt, right? And now the whole banking space is opening up. New players are entering the field, which before it was quite a protective space when you think back like 10, 20 years before the technology actually got to that level. So I believe these changing client expectations are really going to rattle the banking cage as such on a global scale. So that would be my first core belief. Mm-hmm. Second one, and potentially not very surprising, is really the ever so increasing technology innovation, right? So this massive technology boost that we have seen over the last couple of years is forcing each and every banking organization to rethink their products, their services, and their operating models, right? So in that space, I really see a big challenge for traditional organizations, because I said like 25 years ago or 20 years ago, I was doing core banking implementations. And a lot of our clients are still running on first generation, second generation core technology stacks, right, which has been implemented in the late 90s, beginning of 2000s. This is hindering them now today to actually address these changing client needs. So finding the right balance as a banking organization to adapt and integrate new technologies, leverage them, keep the costs under control, still being compliant, there I see really big changes that need to happen. So that would be my second one. Third one, and potentially a bit more really looking into the future, I see the question coming back that each and every bank has to answer. And this is about where to play and how to win. So a very strategic question. And let me explain this. We have just recently launched a study in Switzerland about embedded finance and banking as a service. In this study, we have also identified and also heard from our clients that new business models are going to be needed to be successful in the future. They will not replace the traditional business models, especially the private banks are running on, right? But they provide a lot of new opportunities. But now introducing new business models in very traditionally and already optimized organizations will trigger quite a mindset change and will also trickle down in operating models. Again, you need to consider all the costs. So for me, really, that is going to be a super exciting area where I believe there's going to be very fundamental discussions and changes happening. And I see this, for me personally, as third core belief I believe in. So in essence, and as a bit of a bottom line, and you see how excited I am about this topic, it is an exciting place to be, the banking industry, right? Change is always there. There's a lot of new things that are happening, and I'm going to be super excited and interested to see where the whole area and the whole space is heading to.
Interesting, and because almost many people that I speak to, they also have GenAI in the radar when it comes to banking, and it did not figure out in the top 3 core beliefs that you have. So, could you maybe touch on the topic around GenAI, and how do you see it shape the industry? Is it a lot of hype now, or do you also see the hype is actually quite going to be real as well?
It's a very good example, and happy that you mentioned this. For me, the whole GenAI is more than a hype. This is also my belief, right? I put it in the technology innovation kind of core belief, but it's now a very, very good example, right, of a technology that really has the potential and for me will disrupt the banking industry, and not only the banking industry, because it's very tangible. I personally was quite surprised to see the speed of how that actually with ChatGPT or with Copilot, the speed on how tangible that new technology actually became over the last couple of months even, right? And we're not used to this. So what are the implications, right? It provides massive benefits for automation. Provides massive benefits for responding to these personalized client needs in a lot better way, right? It will also impose challenges, right? How you are a regulatory and compliant expert, right? How do you handle compliance in this environment where machines are taking decisions, right? But I think it's a lot more than a hype, not only for the banking industry, because we need to adopt to this as well.
Understood.
Very good. So there was a lot of talking now from my end, and I'm using the opportunity to now switch the hot seat to you, and also have a couple of questions for you. So in essence, in your role as global private banking and wealth management head, what are your personal opinions about opportunities and challenges ahead?
Thanks a lot, Thomas. I thought it's me asking questions, but happy to also take the question. So, to me, if you look at private banking, wealth management, it's an extremely interesting space, fast evolving. Mm-hmm. Some of the drivers that you see is because investments or possibility to invest and the willingness for people to invest has tremendously increased over the last years, from retail to the affluent, to the private banking clients. The access to investments and wanting to invest, the appetite has increased significantly. You touched already on digitization, that also has extremely varied application interests and appetite across the entire spectrum of wealth. And at the same time, if you look at the generational wealth transfer and the entry of new wealth techs and new players, even insurances now, insurance firms wanting to get into wealth, the neos wanting to get into wealth, mass affluent being the highest growth segment, creates an extremely interesting field of opportunities that is there in the space. So at Synpulse, the way that we are going about doing it is we think now market stories. Market stories are the trends that we believe will change the face of the industry in the line of business. And the first one is on wealth continuum, which is exactly the point that I was trying to make, which is across the entire continuum from retail to affluent, to core affluent, to mass affluent, to the entire journey towards also private bank, where the operating model and the way that you service the clients is also quite different. Digital appetite and digitization and high touch, low touch, everything is different. It's extremely interesting space. So we are now spending a lot more time on how do you address the topic around wealth continuum, and it's different player to player. That's where it quite resonated with me that you said that how do you play to win? Which area do you play? What segment do you tackle, and so on. The next one is around regulatory compliance and risk, which is also what you touched on. While things are evolving around us, the compliance side of things and the regulatory pressures, burden, and also how do you tackle it in the new evolving technology side of things becomes quite interesting. When you talk about traditional private banks, and you mentioned also legacy core and legacy structures, cost efficiency, especially for the institutions that are in high-cost locations that are still servicing and doing everything out of high-cost locations, are now facing heavy competition on pricing, on margins and everything. So how can they actually operate in an extremely efficient way is a topic that we're focusing on, which is the third market story around cost efficiency that we do. And the last one, which I hope also that we can publish soon, the next video series, is around client engagement and front office enablement. If you consider the space of wealth management and also private banks, digital and the physical way and hybrid, how do you really engage with the client depending on the type of the client, becomes an extremely interesting topic for us to focus on. So these probably are the four market stories that we are spending a lot of time on. And the intention that I have is to see how we can actually have a few more conversations with also the SMEs within the firm and also externally to discuss a bit more in depth in some of these areas.
Okay, lots of exciting ideas. Thinking about the next step now, how do you plan to take now these market stories and address the market?
Good question. So market stories are really themes that are impacting different players in multiple different ways. So the commonality is private banking, wealth management. Yep. But if you dive a bit deeper, there is a significant space around mass affluent as a segment, which in my view is going to, the battle is going to be the largest there. So even if you look at the private banking wealth management industry, I call them hubs, which is Switzerland, Hong Kong, Singapore, that tries to handle the ultra highs and the high net worths and the servicing needs and the trust structures and the advisory that is needed is probably in these three hubs. There is a lot of synergies that you can draw. The model in which the business model and even the legal setup and everything is quite similar, and you can actually tackle the higher end of the private banking clients. But if you go one step lower, which is the mass affluent, it becomes a lot more local, sometimes regional, and the way to capture wealth as they grow towards the private banking client becomes an extremely interesting field. So what we intend to do is to also start focusing a lot more in the wealth continuum space in the segment of mass affluent, and to be able to see how can we actually address this segment the most effectively. Because what in the history of Synpulse and in the way that I have seen it is, for us, it's more about not the strategy side, it's more about how do you execute it effectively to generate outcomes. And that's more or less what we are intending to focus on in the coming years. Cool.
Thank you very much for sharing this. And last point, you mentioned like there's going to be a series, and I have the privilege to be the first one to open this series. Can you share a bit more what's going to happen with this Hot Seat series?
The intention is that now we go through our market story owners. Across all the market stories, we have people that are leading within Synpulse, these market stories globally. The intention is for wealth continuum or for cost efficiency, regulatory compliance and risk, or even client engagement and front office enablement. We will have specific sessions where we discuss and dive a lot more deeper on content. With the SMEs that we have within Synpulse, and potentially also external speakers in a future stage, to be able to dive deeper into the topics that are impacting these market stories and to go into more specifics of how the industry and the players can actually deal with it. And the intention is to make it also more engaging towards the audience. So if there are specific topics and in questions and ideas that the audience also wants us to talk about, the intention is to see how we can actually do a bit of continuous engagement. And also it's just not education, it's a good education platform, but at the same time it allows us to share our thoughts on how we see the industry for the future. Quite excited for the series.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Thomas. I really appreciate you also making time now for the first episode, and I hope this paves the way for the future video series. Thanks a lot for your time. Hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.
Back to the audience, thanks a lot for listening in. As a sneak peek to the next one, we'll be doing a series with Philip Mackler on client engagement and front office enablement, and hope you enjoy that one too, and stay tuned in. Thanks a lot.